Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 121. Good morning. Let's dive in. I saw something on an ex-client of mine's Instagram recently. I say ex-client, so this was someone who was doing fantastically well, but struggled with the whole on-plan, off-plan mentality, sabotaged themselves quite often, lacked a lot of belief, and there were certain things that they needed to work on that they were avoiding. And it's one of those things where you see it time and time again. Like, people want to work on their weight. And it comes back to what I've been talking about so much in recent episodes, like running into those roadblocks. Like, she had gotten as far as she could with her weight, doing all the normal things that would make a person's weight go down. And then she ran into something that she needed to take a step back from weight loss and work on separately. And she didn't want to do it. She was avoiding it. She was determined that, if I just keep doing this calorie deficit stuff, my weight will go to where I want it to be. And ultimately, it didn't. And she left and she cancelled. And she ran. I don't follow clients on Instagram. I don't follow anyone on Instagram. I don't use Instagram for that. I try to really limit the time that I spend on social media, aside from the stuff that I need to post and engage with and interact with. I'm not a social media consumer. But she randomly popped up as like a suggested person to follow recently, and I just happened to tap on her profile and saw this post, and it was "Prove them all wrong." And it just made me think about the amount of conversations I've had with clients over the years who try to use this as a motivational tool, and it is such a low value method of motivation that means absolutely nothing. Like, who the actual fuck do you need to prove yourself to? Like, prove what? That you cannot be overweight? Why does that matter? Like, who actually cares? Do you think someone is sitting in their house right now going, God, I can't wait until the day such and such proves me wrong with their weight? I wonder if like, nobody gives a fuck about your weight. Nobody cares. Absolutely nobody cares about your weights, about your struggles. I have worked with enough people by now to understand that people are far, far, far too caught up in their own dramas, in their own shit, in their own lives, in their own busyness to be wasting a second of their time worrying about you. Yes, there is the occasional person who does have traits where they overly concern themselves with other people, but that's just a part of who they are, and they tend to be horrible people. But this whole, like, aggressive, angry, I'm going to show them, I'm going to show everybody, wait till they see me walking down the street in my size 8 dress or whatever nonsense it is, whatever affirmations it is that people try to tell themselves in the mirror. That stuff doesn't work. It never has done, and it never will. If you need to use that stuff to make you take your health seriously, you're wasting your time. If you need to use that angry, aggressive, I need to hype myself up to do the weight loss stuff, like that, honestly, you're going to get nowhere. You're not going to lose weight. If you do, you're not going to lose it for very long, because it's such a negative approach. This is something I've been talking about so much inside the community with members, where it's like there are negative ways to approach things and positive ways to approach things, and both of them will lead to the same outcome. So I had a chat yesterday on someone's check-in who was not bragging, but they were very proud of how they'd managed to resist temptation, to hold themselves back, to stop themselves from eating chocolate. And it's a tricky one, because on the one hand, you have to offer them praise and kind of celebrate with them and congratulate them, but not for that. So it's like, okay, let's look behind what you've said, and let's not take your words at face value yet. Let's look at what happened. You were someone who used to say yes to chocolate all the time, and now you've had a few occasions where you've turned it down because you didn't want it. That's a positive thing. That's a great way to look at it. But this aggressive, restrictive, I stopped myself from doing this, I held myself back from doing that, I had willpower, I resisted. I resisted temptation by the cake and the chocolate and the biscuits. You feel like that's some massive thing to be proud of, and it both is and isn't. So it is in the sense that you had an experience where you showed yourself that you don't need to say yes to a thing every time. That's great. But the method by which you achieved it is not great, because you will not be able to resist every time. You won't be able to say no every time. You won't be able to hold yourself back and white knuckle it every time. That does not last long. Like, that negative restrictive approach is also what we call willpower, right? And willpower is not a thing to be depended on. Remember, people do not manage their weight and manage their food choices because they have more willpower than you. Like, just because I've maintained my weight since 2016, that does not mean that I've got more willpower than you. That's like a big way to like devalue someone's achievements or goals or whatever. Oh, you must just have more willpower than me. Well, no, actually. I worked really hard on my relationship with food. I now have a wonderfully balanced diet. I now enjoy all foods. I eat takeaways every weekend. I still eat chocolate. Still eat sweets every night with the kids. I'm just not 14.5 stone anymore. Not because I have willpower, but because I finally took the time to do the deeper work and realize and understand why I was in the position I was in. Nothing to do with willpower. And it's hard to explain that to people because they've depended on willpower their whole lives. You know, most people have spent like 20, 30, 40 years trying to control their eating by controlling their eating. So what I mean by that is, like, they have this, well, when I'm good, I'm good. You know, when I'm good, when I'm in the zone, this is how I'm eating. And they think that's a good thing. You listening to this right now, the amount of times that people have said this to me in the past, like, oh, when I'm in the zone, I am so good. I'm like, I'll just stop you there. That's the problem. This idea that you can be good, this idea that you can be in the zone with your eating, you are creating conditions where, you know, as soon as you think that if you leave the door open for being good or the door open for being in the zone, what's the other door that you leave wide open? What's the opposite of those two things? And when we break that down to its base level, what are we actually talking about? Someone being on plan or off plan, on track or off track, on the wagon, off the wagon, yo-yo dieting. That's all it is. But you create these kind of what appear to be positive terms for it. I'm in the zone. And when I'm in the zone, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm doing my 10K steps and I'm eating this and eating that and I don't eat chocolate and I don't do this. And you create this world where being in the zone is the thing that you're trying to achieve, when the reality is the whole in the zone thing is the reason you're stuck. It's see if we talk about like binge and restrict type behavior, where people think the binging part is the problem. You know, people think that on a Saturday and Sunday when I eat to massive excess, that's the problem. That's the thing that I need to fix. That's the thing that I need to undo. And then Monday, they go super restrictive. In Slimming World, you would call that an SP day, a speed food day, where you eat nothing but speed food, which is just a glamorous way of saying, I binged at the weekend, I'm going to restrict today. It makes it seem less disordered because you're using plan rules to achieve disordered eating. Now, Like I said, people think the binge part is the problem, and so they restrict in order to try and fix the binge. I've had 4,000 calories this weekend. I need to have 500 tomorrow and maybe 800 the next day, and that will balance everything out. But what people don't realize is that it's the like if you are someone who is prone to binge type behavior, what is the number one trigger for binge type behavior? Restriction. So your solution to the problem is to do the thing that leads to the problem happening. So when I ever work with someone who has these kind of overeating restriction type patterns, the first thing we do is stop restricting. Even if they do overeat, we do not get to a Monday and undereat in an effort to undo or fix the damage or limit the damage or whatever terrible terms people use for these things. We stop doing that, because once you stop doing the restriction, you reduce the risk of the overeating part, and it makes it much more manageable. You know, if you don't allow yourself to eat chocolate Monday to Friday, what do you think you're going to do at the weekend? The minute you see chocolate, or the minute you finish work on a Friday afternoon, or you look at something the wrong way in the cupboard after knowing you've not allowed yourself it all week. This is the same when it comes to this in the zone stuff. Being in the zone is what sets up the opposite. Being in the zone is what perfectionists do, what all or nothing thinkers do. Everything's going great right now because I'm doing all this stuff. I'm not eating junk, I'm not eating crap, I'm not eating rubbish. I'm cooking all my meals, I'm doing my steps, I'm going to bed early, I'm blah, blah, blah. Like whatever list of things it is that you associate with being in the zone, that's also just what we call, or your version of perfection. I run into this a lot with my members, where like recently someone didn't check in. I hope you can hear these bird noises. Do you know that when I listen to a lot of podcasts, fiction podcasts, but there's a lot of adverts pop up. And you remember that guy that was on, I can't remember if he was Love Island or Big Brother. I think he was Love Island. Remember, I've only watched this a couple of times. It was the season that Maura was in it. And Dr. Alex George, maybe. Anyway, he has an advert that comes up and he's like, oh, come for a walk with me. And we talk about all these health things. And you listen to the sounds of nature. Well, it's now getting to that time where the birds are actually singing in the morning for me. So I hope that comes through in the microphone, even though the microphone does well at cancelling out noise of traffic and other stuff. I hope it's not cancelling out the bird song. Anyway, so yeah, they'll disappear for a few weeks and they'll come back and be like, oh, you know, I had a week where I didn't really track very much and I didn't want to check in because I didn't want to not have things for you. And I didn't have a perfect 2 weeks. So what I've been trying to do is have a perfect 2 weeks, and I've not managed to have a perfect 2 weeks. So that means that I've just not come to check in for the last 6 weeks. And I've made no progress. And it's like, yeah, why? Why have you made no progress? Because you created this idea that you had, even though I discourage it everywhere in this community, even though there is a lesson in the first 30 days that tells you that perfection does not exist here, if you bring perfection into this, it's because you've made it up. I do not give you fixed numbers. I do not tell you you need to track every single day. I tell you very clearly that you can track, that you can check in anytime, even without screenshots. I'm not just here to look at screenshots. It's really helpful accompanying data to analyze someone's nutrition, but sometimes the thing that someone needs help with isn't the food that they're eating, it's the way that they're acting or thinking or feeling. So you should always check in. But people still make up in their own minds, well, I'm not going to check in because out of the last 14 days, I didn't track for 2 of them, and I don't want to show that to Jason. And that's what happens. And then they end up disappearing for 6 weeks and then checking in 6 weeks later, and they're the same weight as they were 6 weeks ago, when they could have just checked in at the 2 week mark. We could have had it all resolved then. They could have felt much better. And by the time we got to the 6 week point, they could have been another half stone down. So this in the zone stuff, this is your perfectionist mindset talking. This is when I'm doing this, and this, that's when things are going really well. And they're not. This is the big thing about this stuff. It's such an illusion. People who live like that will spend about 20% of the year actually making progress. Sitting and waiting and hoping and praying that this zone thing is going to come along, that this thing is just going to click. People will spend months trying to lose weight, trying to get into a calorie deficit, trying to have that first Monday where they manage to make it to the end of the day without overeating. And once they do, they go, oh, this could be it. And then they manage it Tuesday, and then they manage it Wednesday. And they're like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. I've just spent the last 6 months gaining weight, but now we're in the zone again. And so the zone lasts for 4, 6, 8 weeks. And then they have that one day where they do have a takeaway, or they drink alcohol, or they eat chocolate, or they don't reach their steps, or they forget to track, or whatever it is. And they go, oh, I've ruined it. And then they struggle after that. They struggle to get back to where they were. They can't get back into the right frame of mind. They can't get back to what they were doing. And because they can't do it perfectly, that's it. Not in the zone anymore. There's no middle ground for them. You're either in the zone and doing everything, or not in the zone and doing nothing. So, how did I get onto this? Oh yeah. I can actually, it's funny because I'm walking the dogs, I have this weird thing where I associate locations with sounds. So like, when I listen to certain podcasts, it takes me back to a certain mountain that I've climbed. So there's a podcast called Woebegone, a fiction thing. You'll not have heard of it. But I climbed 6 mountains that day in the snow. So whenever I listen to that, it takes me right back to that moment. And the point there was, I was trying to remember how I got onto this, and I went back to the gate that I walked through, the first gate. Because at that point I said I've been talking to a lot of clients about this inside the community, about positive and negative approaches. So that's how I got onto that. So this whole aggressive, these fucking affirmations and statements and quotes that people share on Instagram. Don't stop until you've proved them all wrong. Keep going until your idols keep going until your idols become your rivals. Like, the whole motivational quote market is just such fucking bullshit, isn't it? Oh, look, there's a thing that's made me feel motivated for 10 seconds. I'm going to save that and never look at it again. Or I'm going to comment on it and go this with lots of hands up emojis, then change absolutely nothing about my life. Or I'm going to share it to my stories and say this with loads of praying emojis and do nothing. It's such a nonsense, fictitious, artificial bullshit world that people create inside their minds that makes them feel like they're making progress. Makes them feel like, oh, I'm actually achieving something. I just read something that made me feel like I actually want to do this thing. But it doesn't last. Just like prove them all wrong doesn't last. Prove who wrong? Nobody cares. You need to let go of this idea that anyone gives a single flying fuck about what you are doing, about your diet, your health, or your weight. Nobody is interested. Do you know why? Because everybody's doing something about their diet, their health, and their weight. It is so ridiculously mainstream now, especially since COVID. People have become more fatigued with dieting and nutrition advice since 2020 than I've ever seen and I've ever felt. 2018, 2019 were great years. People loved the stuff I was putting out. People loved the stuff that I was posting. It was far less about extremes there. People were more skeptical to extremes. People didn't buy into the extremes as much. It was like 2020, Herbalife was everywhere. Everybody you knew was pushing Herbalife. And when you went on it, like, nobody's dropping positive comments on it. Nobody's saying, oh my God, yeah, these were amazing. They helped me achieve this. Like, nobody did that. Everybody just went on and just gave them shit. Like, if you need to have a healthy, balanced diet when you're taking this, what's the point in taking this? What's the point in drinking these shakes? Like, people just didn't buy into it. It's why Herbalife are going out the game. But now, people are less skeptical. I've said that before. Like, remember the Zoe diet? This time last year, everyone was going fucking mental. Absolutely mental for the Zoe diet. Now you do not see a single post, you do not hear a single post. Absolutely nobody talks about the Zoe diet. These things come in an instant and they're gone in an instant. And for me, like, I don't think there's been anything else since the Zoe diet that anybody's bought into. Right now, I think people are very confused post-Zoe diet. I've had a few clients come in recently where they're talking about, I'm not eating any chemicals and I'm not eating any UPFs and I'm trying to limit processed foods. And then in the same breath, they're telling me, yeah, when it gets to the weekend, I'm just smashing an entire box of Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm like, what is the point? What is the point trying to do all this stupid restrictive stuff because you've read something online and you try to remove them from your diet because you think it's going to somehow make you healthy. And then by the time you've done your research, you're like, fuck, what am I left to eat? Chicken, rice and broccoli for the rest of my life. Oh my God. So, yeah. How can we bring this back on topic? Stop looking for negative ways to motivate yourself. It does not work. I'll prove this person wrong. I'll show them. Wait till everybody sees me do this. Oh my goodness. Nobody cares. And the thing is, even when you do achieve your goal, people will just criticize you anyway. That's all they're going to do. Like, let's say you make it all the way to the finish line and you reach the weight that you want to be and you post that before and after picture. Do you know what's going to happen? Everybody's going to say, you look better before. You looked healthier and happier before. You're not even smiling now. Oh, you've lost too much weight. You've went too far. You need a burger and chips. It's not going to be this grand fucking ball thing. They're not going to put on a big party for you. Everyone is not going to worship and adore you. Nobody is going to give a flying hoot. That's not true. Some people will. The people closest to you will. The people who understand that if you've done it properly and you've not done it in an awful way, the weight loss part, I mean, as in you've not binged and restricted your way to the weight that you want to be. But the people closest to you will care. They'll understand. I'd understand. I can look at two pictures of someone, and while I won't judge the person's mental state or their happiness or their diet or their health on their weight, you can look at someone who was 18 stone before and 10 stone now, and you can state some scientific facts like, that person has added years on to the end of their life. That person's mobility is going to be much easier. That person is getting out of bed easier in the morning. That person's not out of breath when they climb the stairs anymore. That person doesn't have as much pressure on their joints. They're in far less pain, physically at least. So there are things that you can say when you look at a picture of a person. I would never dare suggest. I don't praise people's appearance. I don't do it in my community. When people post before and after pictures, like, the only thing I ever do is commend people on their progress. But that comes from me being directly involved in it. I know, if I work with someone for a year and I've been doing their check-ins regularly, I know what it's taken them to get to where they are. So yes, I'm sure, they do. I'm sure. They do love showing that, here's me at 18 stone, here's me at 10 stone. And people will pile in and say, oh my God, you look amazing. That's fine. But I don't care about that. Like, I'm not interested in the aesthetic. For me, it's more, have I helped this person mentally? There are so many personal trainers who do nothing but post before and after photos on their Instagram accounts to promote their 6 and 8 and 12 week body blast challenges or whatever, because they want to draw in a very specific type of person. It's like, look at what you could achieve. If you come and do this, this is what you could look like. And that's fine. Like, that all has its place. I post before and after pictures from time to time, but you'll always notice that when I post a caption to go with it, I tell the story between the two pictures, because to me, that's more important. I don't post enough before and afters, to be honest. But it kind of get, if I posted more before and after pictures, I would get more people who are more interested in their appearance. And then those people then are difficult to work with because I'm not someone that gets hyped up about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, social media is a way for me to filter the right people into the Monroe Method. So if, like, I like to post a lot of written, thought-provoking content, or Instagram reels. Like, I post a lot of mindset stuff. Like, if you want to lose weight for life, here's what you need to do. That stuff. It's not sexy. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't get millions of views. But the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people that do watch it, they're the people I want to work with. And I only need 10% of them to decide that, oh, this guy is speaking to me. This is the kind of thing I need now. I've done the yo-yo diet stuff. I've tried Slimming World 20, 30 times. This is the point in life I'm at. I need someone like this guy to now lead me down a new direction, a different path. So yeah. Fucking hell, this has been all over the place. And I've been swearing a lot. I wonder what's going on with me today. I may have to write some thoughts down later on to figure out what's got my back up. Do you know what it is? It's probably this whole, like, talking about this topic makes me feel like it seeing people trying to use things that don't work to achieve a weight loss goal, that upsets me so much. It's like, you've only got one body, you only have one life, you are only here once, you only get one shot at it. And when it comes to the world that I work in, the yo-yo diet industry, I just watch people losing their lives to their weight. 10, 20, I've got someone at the moment who keeps trying to tap on my stories, tap on the stickers, tap on the posts to get me to send them information about a trial. I had to remove them as a follower and hide my story from them. Like, I do not want them to come and join me for the 10th time. Because they do this all the time. They join, they do all right for a month, they say all the same things, they don't change anything, they don't do anything, and then they disappear. And then they try to come back, and then they'll unfollow me, and then 6 months will pass, and I'll look at my Instagram, and it'll be like, this person will pop up, and I'll go, here we go again. And I can't help them, because they're never going to change, because they're never going, they're coming to the Monroe Method and trying to use it like a yo-yo diet. And if you try and use what I do as a yo-yo diet, it will not work. I don't just want to work with anyone. I want to work with people who will actually go through my process and come out the other side where I hope they would be. My ultimate goal with every single person I work with, here's the ultimate goal and here's the minimum goal, right? Ultimate goal for everyone I work with is to take them all the way to the finish line, bring them up to maintenance, remove tracking from their day, and have them go on and maintain their weight for the rest of their life using everything that they've learned between point A to point B. Ultimate goal. Minimum goal is you leave someone in a better place than you found them. I have never given someone disordered eating. I've never given someone an eating disorder. I've never left someone feeling worse than they did before they came to work with me. If that makes sense. Like, you cannot come and work with me for 30 days. Go through all the educational stuff, work through the course, identify your food attachments, understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. Like, that initial 30-day course cannot have a negative effect on anyone. I mean, it depends. Like, if you don't want to know, like, if it exposes things that you don't like, if it exposes truths that you didn't want to hear, if it makes you, if the introspection is something you don't enjoy and it makes you feel bad, I mean, I guess people could leave feeling worse than when they joined, but for me, that's a positive stepping stone on that person's weight loss journey, because sometimes you have to go through that horrible stuff. You need to have those very difficult, open and honest conversations with yourself before you can make any progress. There's someone in the group at the moment who has joined a few times in the past, who does well for a while, but she does have some challenging medical conditions. So she does have it tougher than many. And she has left and rejoined a few times. And we did a check-in yesterday, and at the bottom of the check-in, she said, I have never admitted this to you before, but blah, blah, blah. I won't share it here. But there was something going on when she was here before that she didn't tell me about, that she was struggling with. And if I don't know about something, I can't help them. But even though she's left and joined a few times over the years, every single one of those occasions has been a positive stepping stone on her journey. Because now, on attempt number 4 in the last, 5 or 6 years, she's finally decided, or finally realised, if I don't share this thing with my nutritionist, I am not going to get help with it. And I have realised that I'm never going to get anywhere with my weight or be able to move forward if I don't confront this thing. So remember, doing something multiple times does not always mean that it's a failure, unless you're doing something that's designed for failure, like Slimming World, which is, Slimming World set up to enslave you for life and keep you as a lifelong source of income. That's why when you reach their goal weight, they very generously allow you to just keep going for free. Not out of the goodness of their hearts, but they know that you are 80 to 85% likely to regain the weight you've lost, at which point they can start charging you again. And it's far easier to charge someone who's coming to your group than it is to have to chase them around Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp to get them to come back to group again. They try to keep the habit of coming to group going, because those are the easiest people to start taking money from again. Anyway, we're about done it. I started a press record very early and I've talked non-stop since. And we're probably at the 30-minute mark. So, to summarise, stop trying to negatively motivate yourself. Negative motivation does not work. Speaking to yourself like shit doesn't work. Beating yourself up mentally doesn't work. Calling yourself names, being derogatory, talking bad about the food that you eat, coming back to your relationship with food, referring to food as junk, crap, rubbish, treats, rewards, cheats. All this stuff just ruins you long term. And using negative methods of motivation is exactly the same. I'll prove everybody wrong. I'll show them. Wait till everybody sees me when I weigh this much. Honestly, that's a horrible way to motivate yourself. Remember, if you cannot harness your motivation on yourself, then you are doomed to fail. Every single weight loss attempt will fail. If you can't reach a place where your motivation is your health, your future, when health's a very generalized term, your physical health, your mental health, your social health, your relationship health, your family health. Like, I'm working with someone just now who has sat across from a table from a doctor, and the doctor has said, look, if you do not make some serious lifestyle changes, you are going to develop type 2 diabetes, you're going to have to watch your blood sugars, and you're going to have to inject yourself with insulin every day. So they've received a pre-diabetes diagnosis. They've been told what's going to happen if they don't change, and they still can't change. They are still eating the exact same way. They're changing nothing about their diet, even though they've had that diagnosis. And this is normal, by the way. Like, this happens a lot. There are people who know that they are drastically impacting their quality of life, and yet they still choose to do it because they quite often, it becomes this feedback loop, right? You gain weight, the weight stops you from doing things you want to do, you feel bad about that, and the way that you cope with feeling bad is eating food, but that's the part that makes you gain the weight, and you get stuck in this cycle. But if you cannot get to a point where your own health motivates you, where your own quality of life motivates you, if you are at a point or still at a stage where you're having to use the thoughts of other people to get you to take your health seriously, it's like, oh yeah, I've tried the thing to have weight loss as a goal. I've tried to think about reducing my risk of disease, of showing my kids what it's like to have a positive relationship with food, being a good role model for my kids. There's a history of diabetes in the family. There's a history of heart disease in the family. My dad had a heart attack at 50. My granddad had a heart attack at 50. I don't want that to happen to me. If you know all that stuff and you still can't make any change, then there is a much deeper issue going on. And it's not that these things don't mean something to you. Like, it's not that that's not important. It's not that you don't place value on these things. Like, people who are overweight, it's not that they just don't care about their health. It's that they've created a world where food means more to them than that. Where sitting down and eating a bar of chocolate every night, or a tube of Pringles, or whatever it is that you're doing in the evening when you're in front of the TV, that gives them more than what they think they're going to get from being lighter, from being fitter, from being healthier. They're too connected to the way that they're doing things. That's a part of it. It's much more complicated than that. There are lots of moving parts, but that's one part. And so, the point was, if you cannot take your own health seriously, if you cannot use your own health, your future, your family's future, your relationships, etc., as a motivator for change, then you're wasting your time. Like, until you can get to the point where those things mean more to you than the way that you're using food, the way that you're using alcohol, the way that you're treating your body, doesn't matter what you do. Like, resorting to trying to bring other people into it. Like, I'll show my mum. My mum's always said that I would never, whatever. Or, I'll show that person that made that mean comment to me about my size. I'll show them. If you can't, if your own health and future doesn't motivate you enough, then what does these created thoughts of strangers who stopped thinking about you right after they said that comment to you at the supermarket 6 months ago, and you're desperately hanging on to that, prove them all wrong. So, what should the takeaway from this be? Stop trying to negatively motivate yourself. Stop trying to negatively control yourself, whether that's using it to motivate yourself to achieve your goals or using it to try and control your eating. I've eaten so much shit. I've eaten so much crap. Chocolate's the devil. Sugar's the devil. We do this not because the things are true, because they're not. We do it because we're trying to paint an awful picture of that food so that we don't want to eat it. If I make that sound awful enough, I'm not going to want to eat that, because why would I want to eat the devil's food? Why would I want to eat poison? Why would I want to eat evil sugar? And why wouldn't you? Because it fucking tastes great. That's why you want to eat it. And that's why you then go and do it. But now you've created this idea that you think it's awful. And how do you think you're going to feel once you eat something that you tried to make sound so awful? You're going to feel awful. You're going to react to that. Negative, negative, negative. So, key takeaway. Stop using negativity as a method of motivation or control or whatever. Be positive about everything. I don't know if I finished giving you that example earlier on. Let's do that before I go, because I did touch on this and then I didn't say it. So, yeah, I didn't actually. So this person, resist, temptation, say no, hold myself back, all that stuff. I explained to them that that's a negative way to do it. So it worked this time, but that's not going to work forever. That's not helping someone create a healthy relationship with food. A more positive way to approach that would have been, yes, I could have this chocolate if I wanted to, but if I wasn't being handed it right now, I wouldn't have had any. Like, would I have went to a vending machine or a shop right now to get some chocolate? Nah, probably not. And then you say, no thank you. Not because you're holding yourself back, not because you're restricting, not because you're white-knuckling it and willpowering it, but because you actually realise, like, logically, the only reason that I'm thinking about eating this is because this person is trying to hand it to me. I would not have gone and got this for myself. I wasn't even thinking about it.
and I can have chocolate anytime I want. I don't have to have it right now. And then you're coming at it from a much more positive angle, and then that's when you do all that stuff internally, and then your mouth goes, no thank you. And that's it, done. And then when that person checks in with me, they can come back and say, I was offered chocolate the other day, and I did what you said. I had that little internal dialogue, realised that if I was to say yes to this, it would only be because I was having it, and I already knew I had something in the fridge waiting for me when I got home tonight, and so I said no thank you. How much more positive is that than coming to check in with me and saying, I said no, and I turned this down, and I resisted temptation, and all these biscuits and chocolate were in the office, and I just walked past it all and didn't even look at it. You get the idea. Anyway, that was a long one today. Until next time.